Welcome back to my YouTube channel, guys. And generally I've been doing much more like vlogging or try on hauls or things like that. And I got a lot of requests to talk more about like my nutrition coaching and workouts and tips and tricks and things along those lines. So we're jumping into it. First things first, I'd love to hear though if you guys like this kind of content, because I ultimately want to create content for you guys and what you want and believe is going to be beneficial for you and your journeys and all of those amazing things. So I was thinking one vlog post a week and then maybe one more like educational tips, like things that you can do for your journey. So let me know down below, because I know we are all busy moms. We've got a lot of things on our plate, but we all have goals. So today we are going over one of the biggest things that I see, and it's 5 mistakes for macro tracking that could lead to you not getting results. So what is macro tracking? Ultimately, it's counting our macros, so protein, carbs, fats. Those make up overall amount of calories. So ultimately, I highly recommend, if you are tracking macros, focus primarily on protein and calories. That's like step number 1. But if you can hit all 4, then that's going to lead to the best results. So we're gonna get into all of that. If you're not tracking your macros though, guys, I truly believe that is the most sustainable and beneficial way for you to reach your fat loss, weight loss, health and wellness goals, just because it is setting you up for an easier future. You are then taking the time right now to learn what nutrition is. It's ultimately like stepping into a class, which I know like sounds really annoying. It kind of sounds like it takes a lot of work, which it does. But one day you're going to have the experience, the background, all of these trial and errors in your back pocket. So you can literally look at a plate and be like, oh, this is a carbohydrate, this is a protein, this is a fat, this is probably the amount of grams and things like that that I'm eating. So that way I know that I'm in a calorie deficit. That way I know that I'm working towards my goals, rather than just following a nutrition plan. Look, we do nutrition plans in our Built Wellness app. We do habit tracking, we do macro tracking, we do meal plans, and they all have times and places for them. However, if I just hand you a meal plan, one of these days you're gonna have like an event, you're gonna have a celebration, you're gonna want to stop, you're gonna want to like eat different foods that are not on that meal plan, and you're not gonna have any education. I always remind people too, like using the analogy of, for instance, Taylor Swift. If you wanna learn how to play the guitar, you're not going to simply grab a guitar and be able to play next to Taylor Swift. It's going to take time, it's going to take practice, it's going to take patience, just like learning all about nutrition, learning about what fuels our body. It's the most complicated system that there is. So take the time and learn how to macro track. And shameless plug, I'm going to drop it in there, I'm a nutrition coach. So if you need help, if you need support, if you need community, if you need weekly check-ins, video assessment, feedback, all of those things, reach out to me, because that's what I do. I'm literally so passionate about this. This is like everything for me. I read nutrition books for fun. I read scientifically backed research for fun, all about nutrition and macro tracking. So let me help you if you need help and support. I have my little notes over here, so if you see me reach over there, it's because my computer. But so number 1, ultimately, if you're tracking your macros, these are the biggest mistakes that I see people struggle with without like, you know, being able to see the changes that they want to see. So, you know, if you're doing any of these, let's make sure to change that, so that way you get the most out of macro tracking. So for instance, if you've been tracking your macros, you're like, hey, I'm using MyFitnessPal or even my Built Wellness app or anything along those lines, and you're like, Brie, I'm just not seeing, like, macro tracking doesn't work for me, I'm not seeing results, XYZ, whatever those excuses may be, check in on yourself. Are you doing any of these things? And that could be a reason that we're not seeing the results that we want to see. So number 1 is simply, which one do I want to start with? We're just gonna go all out, is not tracking everything. And people are always like, I am tracking everything, I'm in a calorie deficit, I'm only eating 1,200 calories. But specifically, everything. When I say everything, it's everything that has calories. So big ones that I really see my clients miss, or see people in general miss tracking, is like oils. So oils, like if you're meal prepping and you use oils to coat the bottom of your pan, 1 tablespoon of oil is 120 calories. Imagine you doing that for every time you're cooking something. You know, you're making eggs every single morning and you're just dousing the bottom of it in oil using about a tablespoon. Well, guess what? That adds up over the week, and that could be hundreds of additional calories that you may not be tracking just because you're not necessarily thinking about it. Maybe you're tracking the eggs or the sourdough toast or the oatmeal and, you know, your tablespoon of peanut butter, and you're weighing all those things out, but you're simply just missing that oil, which in a week, that could be hundreds of calories. So make sure that we are tracking those. Other ones, juices, things that we are drinking. So specifically ones like, like I said, juices, coffees are a big one. So if you're having coffee creamers or coffees from, say, Starbucks or anything along those lines, anything, again, that has calories in it, like if you're adding milk to a protein shake, like you may be tracking that protein shake, but are you tracking the amount of milk that you're putting into it, or the amount of, you know, whatever that is a drinking calorie. Another one is like dressings, and you may be tracking the dressing, and we're gonna get into this, but not weighing it out properly, but that's a huge one that I see people struggle with. And then supplements is a huge one. So remember, supplements do have calories in them. So if you are taking protein shakes, if you're taking fish oil capsules, if you're taking greens, reds, a lot of those things have calories in them and can be adding additional calories. Now, I would say these calories probably far outweigh, or these supplements far outweigh the calories that they consume. So for instance, I would rather you take the OptiGreens 50 that I take every single day for overall gut health than miss them. And you know, it is 60 calories. That's not much by any means, but some people do need to add those into their macros so that way they do see success. So that is number one. Make sure that you are literally tracking everything. And I tell people, like, break it down as small as possible. And go from there, so that way we do make sure that we are hitting everything. Some medications even have like calories in them. So just, you know, focus on that. Make sure that you are tracking all of those things, because our body reads calories in a week time frame, and over time, those calories really, really add up. So number two will be logging your meals meal by meal rather than pre-tracking. So guys, I see the best success from those people who pre-track ahead of time. That means getting into whatever app you are using, hit the arrow to tomorrow, set your day up for success ahead of time. So that way you can, like I just talked about, make sure, hey, I gotta add in those oils, I gotta add in those dressings, sauces, you know, condiments types things. I need to make sure that I've got in my supplementation. You know, that way you can sit down and do that. Rather, if you are going meal by meal, you are leaving so much room for error. You are leaving tons of time on the table. For instance, like I can't even imagine stopping my day and being like, oh, I have to track this meal, or what can I fit in, or I need to move things around, and trying to figure that out like in the time, because error is going to be made. There are going to be a lot of mistakes. Rather than taking, say, 10 minutes the night before to sit down and be like, oh, you know what, hit the arrow, put all my meals in, go meal by meal, make sure that we have everything in there. That way you can adjust things, you can add things, you can take things out, you can, you know, move numbers around, so that way you are hitting those calories, protein, carbs, and fats to a T, because you have already put it ahead. And then when the day comes and that meal comes, you can simply say, oh, this is my meal. I need to put it on my food scale, weigh it out, and you physically have to eat it. It saves so much time. It makes tracking your macros way easier. And then you know that you have hit everything because you've done that. But when you go meal by meal, or even worse, please do not tell me you are tracking your meals after you have eaten them, because simply you cannot expect results from that. Seriously, like if you're like, oh, what did I eat today? Let me just add those in. What? No. Make sure to do it ahead of time, and make sure to set yourself up for success ahead of time. I always track I actually don't even remember the last time that I started my day from scratch. I literally have like a template. I copy and paste it to the next day, and then I make changes from there. Like if I change up, you know, sauces or condiments or add in a coffee or something along those lines, I'll like move things around there. But I have a constant template that I just copy and paste. Number 2 is not weighing everything out. So if you are tracking your macros but not using a food scale, you are simply creating a food log, which does have its benefits. I mean, you could, you know, pinpoint things, you could narrow down, you know, any food sensitivities. Like they're great to take to your doctor's appointments. Like, hey, these are the meals that I eat. But if you have a calorie deficit goal or a calorie surplus goal or a maintenance goal, like you do not know if you are in those without weighing the amount of food that you have. So every time I pre-track my macros, go to the meal, pull out my food scale, physically weigh out the amount that I have tracked in the app, and that's the amount that I eat to make sure that I am actually hitting those specific goals. Because you could eat all the right foods, and I put those in quotation marks, in a day, in a week, in a month, in a time frame, and you could still be gaining body fat. You could still be not eating enough, whatever it may be. So for instance, someone could gain body fat off of broccoli, and someone could be losing weight off of eating cheeseburger and french fries. It's totally dependent, because you have to know the amount that you are having of those specific foods to make sure that you are in that goal. So not using those scales, not using those correct portion sizes, you could still be off with tracking your macros, because you are simply creating a food log. Not using this scanner feature, or just choosing random food items that are like in the app that you are choosing. So for instance, in our app, there are a variety. You could literally type in rice and tons of rice options come up, or we have a scanner feature in the top right hand corner. So if you are inside my app, there is that scanner feature in the top right hand corner where you can click that and you can actually scan a barcode to see and pull up the exact food item that you are eating. Now, if your item doesn't have a barcode, it's like choose the best option, right? Like it's not always going to be perfect, but if there is a barcode on the item that you are having, utilizing that scanner feature, because that is going to be the most accurate. For instance, there are hundreds of tortillas out there. Could be, you know, 60 calories, could be 150 calories, 200 calories, whatever that may be. So making sure that you're scanning and choosing the exact option that you are having. Different brands have different amounts. You know, nutrition labels are about 25% inaccurate, but choosing the one that you are specifically having is going to make your macros the most consistent and the most accurate that we possibly can get them. So make sure that you are utilizing that and making sure that you're choosing those specifically. You can also save them in our app. So I'm not sure how other apps are, but make it a little bit more convenient for you. So that way you save those like constant items or constant brands that you tend to go towards. Last but not least, probably one of the biggest mistakes too, is just not making the specific change. Look, years ago, there was all the rage, all the hype about if it fits your macros. And I really believe that it had a great purpose and a great time. It brought a lot of awareness to macro tracking, and myself included did it. Guys, like I was a queen of like 1 carb pancakes and fitting in Pop-Tarts and fitting in Snickers and things like that. And so I really recommend to my clients following the 80-20 rule of, hey, 80% of our nutrition logs are going to be nutrient dense, like whole food, single ingredient options. What does that mean? You know, typically items that like if you are grocery shopping and you say, hey, could I have hunted for this? Could I have grown this myself? And the answer is yes. Then those are great options to add into your meal plans, to add into your day. You know, single ingredient items are simply like beef, rice, asparagus, broccoli. You know, shopping that perimeter of the grocery store is a great option. You know, things like that. And then adding in some fun, or even adding in some fun that are more macronutrient, what's the word? Where it's like a little bit more macro friendly is what I'm trying to say. you know, if you're a chocolate carnivore or something along those lines, like add in a little bit of chocolate into your day, because that's what makes macro tracking so great. You can enjoy the foods that you love and still see success and still see results. That doesn't mean that we should be filling our day with all of the foods that are, you know, not going to push us in the right direction. I truly believe a lot of us have the sense and the idea and the education of like what good options are. And I don't like to demonize foods by any means, but making that change of like, hey, I do want to feel better. I do want to have more energy. I do want to lower inflammation within my body. So I'm going to choose these good options. And then, hey, the cool thing about macro tracking is I can add in occasionally, you know, on a Saturday night, a slice of pizza with my kids, or an ice cream cone with my kids, or, you know, whatever it may be. But for the majority of the time, still choosing those good, healthy options. So look in. I always say that, hey, you know, what we fill our macros with is going to determine how we feel. You know, tracking our macros will determine how we look. What we fill them with is how we are going to determine how we feel. So more energy, less inflammation, you know, those types of things. So better brain functioning, that type of stuff. So hopefully this cleared some things up on macro tracking. If you guys have any questions, drop them down below. If you liked this kind of content, drop it down below. And I'd love to hear what else you guys want to see / learn about on my page, and I'll see you guys next time.